It's 24 degrees Celsius here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. It is 28 degrees here in Lagos, and guess what? It's November 24. It's a Monday morning, and again, you're welcome to the show. Maokwe, you know, everything happening in the country is enough for us to give anyone some kind of downcast moment. The issues, all of the torrent of issues that happened in the past 1 week, and when you think about it all, the number and volume of abductions, the sentencing of Mazin Nnamdi Kanu, and the reactions that have come from it, both from within the Southeast and outside of the Southeast, and as well as the sundry insecurity issues, the PDP matter. When you put it all together, Maokwe, it is enough to give one really downcast moment, isn't it?
You know, for 2 minutes when you said November, when you said we're still in November, it's 24th of November, and I was like, we're still in November? You mean we haven't yet entered December? Because it looked like a lot really happened in 1 week. I mean, maybe all that happened in 1 week could have been spread over a month, but trust me, Ayo, it felt like that was the longest week we had experienced last week. And it does appear that we're starting this week with a ray of hope. I mean, the president tweeted yesterday, he released a statement on his Twitter handle saying that he was meeting with his security. Yes, he was currently in an extended security meeting with heads of our defense and intelligence apparatus, including the Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Inspector General of Police, Director General of the DSS at the State House. So we saw that meeting yesterday. He says he's reviewing the latest reports and taking decisive actions to stabilize the affected areas and protect our citizens. He's receiving continuous briefings and have directed security services to move with speed, precision, and absolute resolve. He says, as president, I'm fully committed to the security of all Nigerians. Those who threaten the peace and security of our nation will face the full weight of the law. That was a statement from the president. Now, I'm not sure which came first, but these two came together on the same day. He also mentioned the fact that he had postponed his meeting. He's going to the G20 summit, asking instead that the vice president represent him there. But he had good news. He had some news. He says, thanks to the efforts of our security forces over the last few days, 38 worshippers abducted in Eruku, Kwara State have been rescued. He's equally happy that 51 out of the missing students of the Catholic school in Niger State have been recovered. He says he's closely monitoring the security situation nationwide and receiving continuous updates from the front line. Adding this very particular line, he says, let me be clear, I will not relent. Every Nigerian in every state has the right to safety, and under my watch, we will secure this nation and protect our people. That statement was signed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I do, you know, it was good to see that statement yesterday, because a lot of people have been saying, by now, we should have heard from the president. I mean, all of these things could not have been happening in the space of 1 week, and it was silence. Even if the president was meeting with security chiefs and was receiving these constant briefings, it was important that the people heard from the president. Whilst, you know, I think journalists were already prepping to see how they could draw that out of the president. He preempted, so to speak, with this particular statement. But we're hoping that we'll see more robust engagement with the president, because, I mean, people are still curious as to, you know, how these freedoms are happening. And we're still keeping count on the people who have still been abducted, because, yes, we know that while those in Eruku, in Kwara State, have been completely freed, those in Niger State, the children taken in Niger State, we understand it's just 51 out of about 300, we understand, have been released. So that's still a sixth of the people who were abducted in Niger State. In Kebbi State, Maga local government area, the girls taken in Kebbi, we haven't heard anything with regards to that. And we're keeping count. Is now day 8 since those girls were taken from Kebbi State. So we're also holding Mr. President's feet to the fire that if indeed he says that every Nigerian has a right to safety, all of these people have to be returned safely back home. And let's not forget that while security is at the forefront, we mustn't also forget what is happening in our hospitals. It's now how many days since the doctors have been on strike? The National Association of Resident Doctors are also still on strike. So, Ayo, a ray of hope, you might say, or we might say, but we're hoping that there will be more work and people will not go to sleep knowing that there's still a lot to be done. It's day 24. Yes, keeping tabs and keeping count for you to say that this strike is still on. What it means is that a lot of people are going to government hospitals and not being able to see a doctor because of this strike that is currently ongoing. And that must change. We're hoping that the Minister of Health, the coordinating Minister of Health, would also have something up his sleeves before the end of this week with regards to this particular strike matter at hand. But Ayo, yes, our guests are already in the studio, I want to believe, and the matter at hand is security. And we're going to be taking a look at that because, as you know, this is the last week in November. We'll be gearing up for the Christmas celebrations, and people really want to be able to know that they can celebrate in peace. They do not want to appear insensitive. They want people return to their families and, you know, being able to end the year with some joy, because that's what the end of the year is usually about. So let's just get right into it and speak with our guest this morning. We have in our studios here Mr. Issa Sanusi, who is the country director of Amnesty International. Thank you so much for coming to our studios this morning. We saw the statement from Amnesty International, very concerned about the plight of children, documenting that over 230 children in the north, you say, are in captivity of gunmen. In 1 week, it would appear. Is that correct?
Yes.
I mean, what is your reading of the situation? We've heard from some politicians who think that this is all political. We've heard some of them say, look, this seems to have come in the wake of this talk around the U.S. threat or the U.S. interventions in Nigeria. They believe that that might have given some of these terrorists the audacity to commit even more crimes. And we see that the schools, the children are becoming soft targets. From your own assessment, what is Amnesty's reading of what is currently ongoing?
Well, what is happening is that we have a problem of lack of accountability. A lack of accountability is the reason why we are having all these speculations about politicization and many other things. But the issue is we are lacking accountability. This is not the first time we are having mass school abductions in Nigeria. And if you recall, in 2021, from February to June, we had 8 mass abductions in schools, just within 5 months. So the issue is that why is it that very difficult for the government to learn any lesson, to do the right thing, to avoid these things from happening again? It is just what we are witnessing this week is just like a replay of the horrendous things that happened in 2021. So why is it so difficult? From 2021 to date is about 3-4 years, I think. So why are we still going back to the same situation? Lack of accountability, and I believe that the government has to do a soul searching, because the sole responsibility of the government under international law and Nigerian constitution is protection of lives and property. And if the government cannot do that, I don't know what we can call it. And they have to ask themselves, why are we in this position if we cannot guarantee the safety of children, if we cannot guarantee the safety of people in places of worship, if we cannot guarantee the safety of future generation? What is really our job? And that is the most important thing. It is not even about who did what, who did what. The issue is no Nigerian should be killed, no Nigerian child should be prevented from going to school because of fear. And you know, these things have been happening in northern Nigeria, where the whole region is already educationally disadvantaged. And most states are closing schools every day. And this is sort of victory for these killers, for these gunmen, for these people that have been slaughtering people in the last 15 years. This is like a victory for them. They are showing that when they say that they are going to do something or they want to do it, they are doing it and people can see it clearly.
It's so sad. I mean, when you think about it, I've heard the latest school closure we heard in Niger State. The government has now ordered closure. And, you know, what is even more...
State too.
What is more disheartening is the fact that we're already coming to the end of term. So naturally, schools, you know, would be writing exams about now, or if they're not yet writing exams, they will be close to that. End of year activities, and they are supposed to be going on holidays. But it looks like now they're being forced to close. You know, they're declaring a force majeure of sorts on education because of what is currently ongoing. You mentioned Bauchi State, Kwara State closed schools in 4 local government areas. Niger State has closed schools. It's unclear what is happening in Kebbi. So we're seeing all of these closures, and it's unclear how the school system is going to, or the school calendar is going to catch up in the face of all of this.
So in the past, what we realized based on the research we have done, when the schools are closed, in some cases, based on the research we have done, in some of these remote areas, some schools are never open again. Indefinitely, they remain closed because there is issue of trust. Parents could not trust that things are better and send their children back to school. Therefore, the schools remain abandoned while the teachers get their salaries from the government and no teaching activity is happening. And another way this thing is affecting education is that girls who are supposed to be in school are closed down. Parents use this as an opportunity to marry them off underage. And because they tend to tell us that, well, I will not want my daughter to go back to school because she will end up being abducted or raped in the process, so it's better for me to marry her off and give up about education. So, and as far back as 2017, we have done a study, and the study shows that because of Boko Haram alone, we are going to have a whole generation of children that have completely missed out on education.
It's really very sad. I know that Ayo also has a guest in our studios in Lagos. I offer to you.
Thank you very much, Markwe. Joining us here in the studio is the top guy at Eon's Intelligence, Mr. Seyi Adetayo. Thank you. Dr. Seyi Adetayo, thank you very much for joining us this morning. You may want to react to a thing or two that you've heard Mr. Sanusi say, but the realities are the realities. On the one hand, we have data, statistics, things that people, you know, have recorded over time. On the other hand, is the reality that of what people go through. One of the things that I'm still abashed about is the fact that this has continued for so long. All attention is on the federal government. State governments have their own responsibilities. Regional, the governors in the regions have come together from time to time to form some sort of coherent force to take on these issues. Northeastern governors, Northwestern governors, they've all come together from time to time to do stuff. So, and the accusation, or rather the position of some of them have always been, we don't control all of the military apparatus, we don't control any of the security apparatus, but they get reports on a daily basis, at least to the best, at least as frequently as whenever the information gets to them. So I'm trying to understand why we have to be reacting to these insecurity issues as opposed to being proactive about them when we have chief security officers of the states in place.
I think we are really not assessing and appraising the situation at hand very well. If you remember, many years back, I said it here, and we had that conversation even in private, and I said it's going to be with us for like 15, 20, 25 years' time. And people don't really understand why I said that. You see, until we as a people will come together to realize that this is not about APC, this is not about PDP, this is not about who is going to take over let's Donald Trump become Nigerian president today, he won't be able to do anything. The reality on ground is that we have a situation that have allowed this thing to, these people to perpetuate, their existence in uncontrolled, ungoverned spaces for a very long time. It's a country of their own. And what it will take us to root these people out of the place will be more than what we are doing right now. And it's a situation by even the people are not even helping. You think that it's only government that will do it, and at every point in time you are attacking the government, you are abusing the government. It took the state government a long time before they could even realize that they have a role to play in this. And not to talk of the local government and the people.
So what role really can the governors play when they don't control the security apparatus?
Everything is not about, see, we lost the chance, ab initio, when this thing started, and then we started playing politics of ethnicity and religion. And then some people became sympathetic, and out the line, we had people, even up to the people in government that were fingered to be involved at some point, trying to use it for political gains and the rest. So over time, we allowed this thing to thrive beyond. Okay, look, for example, the Kwara State issue. From Egbe to Eruku all the way to Kaba. The forest there, these people have been there for over 15 years inside that forest. And then you are just recording an incident now, everybody is talking about 15 years after. What has happened to us dealing with this situation there? Remember I said something.
What could have been done?
Okay, I said something. I said, for every piece of land is under a particular local government, and they are delineated into wards. Each ward has traditional rulers in those wards that are there. Now, apart from government, the federal government controlling the federal security strength, there is, the state has the ability to be able to galvanize intelligence using its own people. They control the traditional rulers, they control the traditional institutions, the community development, and they are supposed to use those people to galvanize intelligence within which they can use to take control and also have enough information within which they can use to root out those people over a long period of time.
You think that was not done?
It took us a long time. Now they are waking up now. Kwara State is just waking up now because for some months now, things are there. See, as long as we believe that, he's over there, it's not going to get to us. It will get to us because, see, let me tell you the truth. We have the best of the military. If Nigerian military has the kind of sophistication of the United States military, we will surpass them in terms of success.
Okay, let's talk quickly. My apologies. Let's talk quickly about intelligence.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you say they have the capacity to gather all of this intelligence.
Yeah.
The question is, what do they do with that intelligence? That's one. Secondly, we have also been there is also the illusion out there that sometimes security agencies get hard, raw intelligence, but sometimes all of that intelligence is filtered to the governor, and in some way that kind of weakens or lessens the severity or the urgency of whatever the insecurity issue is, which would probably also lessen the reaction that should come. The third leg to this is that sometimes intelligence is gotten in good time, because I do not believe, Dr. Adetayo, there is no one on earth that can convince me that we don't see all of this, every single one of these things coming. I have absolute confidence in our military apparatus and our intelligentsia that these things we always know ahead. The question is, how come we react as opposed to being proactive?
Okay, so two things here. Number one, there's no doubt that the DSS have been providing intelligence, credible, actionable intelligence. Even in Niger State, the Kwara, they were informed. But we also need to understand this as well. For those who are also to Iraq, we need to appreciate what they are also facing. Number one, there are other sources of intelligence, and most times some of those informations were dropped deliberately to cause some distraction, to be able to divert them away. So when you are having a whole lot of intelligence, yes, you have the one from the DSS, which is credible, like the Niger State military components were moved there, and for whatever reason, which we believe that I think they are currently facing court martials right now, those who are involved. 30 minutes before the attack, they moved out of the school and the attack struck. But we need to also understand this, that several of such information were available. How many of it can you know, our security forces respond to. So when they say that, you say, this house is going to be attacked, you move the police there, you move the soldiers there, you open certain areas. So they see that you've already taken care of here. They move here to go and attack in some other area. So they always look for soft target. And you know, these people are into asymmetric warfare, where, you know, it's a kind of guerrilla attack. They come in, they strike, and they go back. So they have the choice, the benefits, the advantage of choice of target to attack. So when you fortify an initial area or location which they have intelligence on, that they are going to attack here, and they send their spies, they see that this place has already been, you know, covered, they move somewhere else. And what you see lately has to do with, number one, Donald Trump's threat, our own response too as a people, and also, you know, the onslaught that the attacks that the Nigerian Air Force had been launched. There have been lots of bombardment, especially that Kwara incident. They've been bombarding all those areas. Niger State, they've been bombarding. And these are based on the intelligence provided the Nigerian Air Force. And at the end of the day, these people saw the opportunity that the only way they can do they moved out of those who escaped the bombardment. They moved out, and they needed to get people for human shield. And that is the reason why they decided to attack soft targets, so they can get people for shield. 1, 2, be able to raise some money, because their resources, their assets, their logistics has been destroyed. So they needed to replenish what had been destroyed by the Nigerian Air Force. So the fact that we're seeing surge in attack doesn't mean that the security forces are not working.
I know
it's just the side effects.
My apologies, Dr. Ritayo. I know that they are working, but at the end of the day, he who feels it knows it.
Sure.
And that is why people find it difficult to understand. I'll give you another angle to this conversation, and I'm sure it is something you're aware of. Some of these non-state actors, these bandits and whatever you want to call them, they engage in online interaction with people.
Sure.
They engage in online interactions with
I saw them on
Nigerians.
TikTok.
You saw them on TikTok. So are we unaware or incapable of tracking them from wherever, whatever sophistication they are using? The second angle, and that's the use of technology here. The second angle to that is, since the Buhari days, we've been talking about tracking the money, following the money, as far as, you know, to get where these fellows are getting, you know, arms, and how this terrorism is being funded and all of those things. Is it that we cannot do it? Or there are political considerations that are arm twisting the authorities?
Okay, you mentioned two things. Number one, the social media presence, and 2, the money. Now, let's first of all discuss the social media presence. We're not talking about dealing with one group or 2 groups. We're talking of bandits that are spread across Mambila Hills, Kainji, you know, National Reserve area, Borono, State Hadis, and the rest. And they are in their hundreds of thousands. They have phones. Government security forces are tracking. Several of them have been arrested through that. The few ones you saw or you are seeing doesn't mean that a lot of them have not. And some of those ones you've seen, or you are just watching their video, you don't even know whether those ones you've seen their video, they're already in handcuffs, somewhere locked, and they are being interrogated as we speak. You see, we shouldn't just play down on the efforts of our security forces. Then the second one that you mentioned about finances. Remember that before now, there is this means of sending money. I've forgotten what they call it then, where you give a note to someone and then you go and collect, you know, promissory note, and the person will give you the cash, and then where the person is, you know, they have a way of collecting that cash. See, is it Yala, whatever they call that process, it has been honed. You see, there is something we need to realize here. Majority of these funds are not being moved through our official financial systems. If you look at those who are even paying ransom, some of them were asked to bring motorcycles. They were asked to bring this, they were asked to bring that. So those people are not even using their money to go and buy motorcycles or buy they're using part of, and all this money are being brought in cash. So it is when you arrest someone that you find out that person has a bank account. And that is where you can say, okay, let me see who has been transferring money to you. And for those who have been operating within our financial system, trust me, that those that have not been caught are already, I can assure you that they're on the watchful eyes, okay, you know, of the institutions that are responsible for such.
I have to be honest with you, Dr. Adetayo, it is very difficult for me to imagine that we cannot get satellite images of a horde of at least 100 motorcycles at any given point in time in this country. I find it difficult to believe that.
Okay, so even America as it is, you need to understand the workings of satellite. Satellite works with cameras, and cameras are concentrated on certain areas. How many cameras on the satellites that will pinpoint how many satellites do we have, how many drones do we have, how many, see, even that national Kanji National,
so we have a
Kanji National Reserve is more than some states, or even the whole of Southeast put together.
So we have a funding problem, we have an equipment problem, we have personnel problem. Is that what you're saying?
The technology that will require for us to be able to handle this effectively, Nigeria is many years behind those technology.
Okay.
But we are running against time to catch up. See, I'm not holding brief. I'm only trying to give you the reality on ground. And we need to appraise the issue. If we are, initially, all this quick fix, I told you before, I say it doesn't work. We need to have a national counter-terrorism strategy that will span a long time, short, medium, and long-term goals. And one of those things that I said then was that the number of our military forces is not enough to counter what. And when the minister, wherever was saying that they need to conscript people, I've asked that we need to employ a whole lot of young Nigerians to the army, and also gave how we will take care of them. How many
people do you think we need?
As it is, I think we need to double the current strength. And I also gave, how we can take care of them after we've been able to resolve this. I said, after that, we can move them into the private sector. Over 200,000 are in the private sector, carrying weapons in South Africa private security sector. Now that, lastly, now that the President has said, remove policemen from VIPs. This will create that gap to fill, when we get there.
That position of the President, I guess we wait to see, because we heard that so many times.
That has never been from the President before.
Okay, let me see if we can talk to Mr. Sanusi here. Well, you have listened to what Dr. Adetayo has said here repeatedly about how we are approaching this. I have a concern, Mr. Sanusi, and that concern is that maybe let it come in form of a question to you. Do we have a way of thinking what the long-term impact of these issues on the children are? I ask that because we need to begin to think about Nigeria futuristically. Because on the average now, if we look at the figures, more than 300 children are in captivity as we speak. More than 300 children. I don't know, you may want to give us, the figures. The question, the issue for me, the concern for me here is what the impact of that will be on those children, and as a result of that, on the country in the next 10, 20 years from now. Mr. Sanusi.
Well, like I have said earlier, a study we have done, an investigation in 2017, shows that because of Boko Haram crisis, a whole generation of children are going to miss out on education. That is a big problem on its own. Now, if you add that to the disaster we are having in the north central and northwest, you realize that the figures are big and scary. And the trauma that comes with being abducted, or with the fear of being abducted, is going to prevent thousands of children from getting education completely. And we also have to consider the fact that in many rural areas, children play a role in the household, and so many people have to be, so many parents have to make a lot of sacrifice to allow their children to go to school. Like they use those children to fetch water, to fetch firewood, for the family, and they have to sacrifice that to allow them to go to school. Now, with this incident, with these failures, you are bound to see the picture that is going to emerge, which is that education is going to suffer more and more setback, especially in northern Nigeria, and people will be scary of going to school, and parents will be more skeptical about allowing their children to go to school. And what that will mean in the overall is that we are going to have another generation of another set of children without education completely. And if you add that to over 12 million out of school children that we have, and you know what the picture will look like, grim and dangerous. And that is why we have to take this matter very seriously. And to address it is not something that can happen at once, but we have to address it because a situation whereby people, criminals, and monstrous people who will carry arms and just carry children from school, and the next thing you hear, everyone is doing the easiest thing, which is, okay, we have closed schools. We are bowing to them. We are showing a lot of weakness as a state to them. We are showing that we cannot protect people, and the bandits and the killers can have their way, can abduct children. Therefore, the only easiest thing we can do is to close down the schools, which means that they are more powerful than the state, and they are more capable of doing what they want to do than the state. And this is a very big problem that has to be addressed. And another big problem that we are not even talking about is the corruption. The corruption and injustice that are perpetuating all this problem, increasing poverty, the collapse of the local government system, the diversion of funds meant for local government, which has created enormous amounts of ungoverned spaces, because these local governments where these things are taking place are very remote. And after every abduction, when you look at the picture of classrooms and the students' hostels, you see a picture of deplorable situation. The hostels, for example, the one in Kebbi, there is no way a human being can live in that place. No way. I don't think that it is reasonable to allow any human being, not to talk of somebody who is seeking education. So all these things are big and they are really serious. The future of this country is at risk, and we have to be talking about things. And apart from talking, action has to be taken. The issue has to be approached in so many ways. Apart from the military and other intelligence issues, we also have to address corruption and injustice. And the governors have to tell themselves the truth. The local governments are not working. And because local governments are not working, we have enormous ungoverned spaces. And because we have enormous ungoverned spaces, the gunmen have a free rein. They find it very easier to go and abduct 300 children and disappear with them without anybody taking action to rescue those children. And we are only talking about negotiation or whatever. And people are even spreading rumors about millions being paid to these people.
And this is in spite, when you talk about local government system collapse, this is in spite of the big debate we had this year about local government autonomy and what the Supreme Court ruling meant for local government areas. Mr. Sanusi, you bring quite a number of issues to the fore, which we will even, examine a little further, because the president has said some things. He's asked that policemen be withdrawn from VIPs. I'm looking at a report from the Punch newspapers here, and they are estimating that about 100,000 policemen in addition will be added to the mainstream of the force as a result of this withdrawal. I guess this is their own calculation, because we don't know precisely how much that is. The president has also asked that about 30,000 policemen be hired. It's unclear how that is going to be done, whether it's going to be done at once, over a period, etc., whether that would actually solve anything. But pertinent questions to be asked, which we will delve into, as well as another matter which is closely related, because let's not forget, the federal government, through the Minister of Arts, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy, has been talking about making the most of what is happening in December. And it looks like a state, Cross River State, is primed to do that. How will it be able to do that successfully in this environment where we're still discussing insecurity? In just a moment, please stay with us. Well, we're still on the matter of security, but we're looking at the sector of tourism, which ideally ought to be getting a boost as December approaches. Is that going to be the situation, particularly in Cross River State, which is known for its carnivals in December time? Well, this morning we're being joined by a former Minister of Tourism, Culture and National Orientation. Mr. Adam Duke is right there in Calabar for us. Thank you so much for joining us, sir, this beautiful morning. And I'm sure that you've also been wondering and you've been a little concerned about national development, especially as a former minister and a senior citizen. Can you tell us your own reading of what has been happening nationally and what your expectations for your state are, especially with regards to tourism? I think of to be getting a boost as December approaches. Is that personal orientation? Mr. Adam Duke is right there in Calabar for us. Thank you so much. Okay, I don't know if you can hear us, Mr. Adam Duke, because what I can hear is my own voice back at me. Perhaps we could try this again. If you heard me, can I just get an hello?
Join this program this morning. Indeed, you know, it is a very trying time for us as a country, as a people. The incessant issues of security that is bedeviling the country across the country is one that would be most challenging, especially for us in Cross River State. But I believe that as we continue the engagement, as the federal government and the security agencies evaluate and modify their strategies, it is my hope that we will find a solution sooner than later. For Cross River State, we have always held our spirits high. We have always been a very welcoming destination. It is our hope that, you know, with the kind of strategies and security networking that has been put in place, the government of Cross River State, also working with federal agencies and authorities, will be able to put an enabling environment in place, you know, which will ensure that our usual December activities are hitch-free. Indeed. Well, we were greeted with the return of TINAPA, that huge investment made by the Cross River State government many years ago. That investment has now been returned to the Cross River State government, hopefully for further development from AMCON, which it would seem the state had been indebted to. It had taken over the assets, so to speak. What are your expectations? That investment has now been returned to the Cross River State government, hopefully. You hear me? I think I'd like to pay my respects to the governor of Cross River State, Apostle Senator Prince Bassey Dedotu, for the audacity of conviction, for him to have engaged with AMCON and ensured that systematically, you know, which has returned this great asset to the Cross River State. And I think that especially for that resort, there are a couple of things that need to be addressed going forward, and that would require a policy re-evaluation. And I personally would strongly suggest that for these TINAPA projects to now see the light of day, the policy foremost. I don't think there is any reason why we should continue to expect that this business and tourism resort should be a free trade zone. This is principally because superintendence is in the hands of so very many federal government agencies with policies, somersaults, and so on and so forth. It will be difficult for you to get a convergence of views and policies to support this. And we can take that, to the bank. The government must ensure first and foremost that administration, all the indices of to support in the past, especially when you have agencies like NEBSA, you have immigration, you have the customs, you have security, all superintending one project. You find out that years to come, you hardly find the convergence. It is my hope that government will be able to take a very drastic step aside from what had been the initial, framework for the Tinapa project. In my mind, it is critical, first and foremost, to address the infrastructure deficit and the challenges around it. I want to say, for instance, that lack of a proper and accessible road between Cross River and into the rest of the country is a major setback for a renewed and reinvented Tinapa. Transportation, the issues of security, all of this have to be addressed. And then a Marshall Plan, which will bring renewals, venture capital, angel investments, would be able to now put in place an outline business case that will be the stepping stone into the future of the reinvestment and regeneration of the Tinapa Resort for Cross River State.
Last year, Nigeria witnessed something unprecedented with regards to what happened in Christmas. It was tagged Dirty December by tourists who were coming into the country in droves. So much so that this year we heard from the Minister of Arts, Tourism, and Arts, Culture, Tourism, and Creative Economy up a task force. What will be some of the expectations you will have of such a task force?
I believe that, with due respect to the order, we've already determined that there would be a task force, to define Dirty December and all of that. There must be some kind of stakeholders, that have sat together to identify how Dirty December will be of value to Christmas and the festival in Calabar, and vice versa. And I think that those conversations at this point in time, but I dare say Calabar and the entire festival is a completely unique product, not in Nigeria, not in West Africa, in the entire continent of Africa. And because it is a month-long event, it also takes cognizance of people who have various interests in core carnival, in the resort discovery and ecotourism and so on. This is a state where you would be traveling 7 hours. You're in the same state, and it has a potpourri, a basket of activities to engage the interest of a whole lot of people. We have, one of national parks, the species national park, Boki, and all of that, are things that would engage about, of course, a potpourri of activities embarked upon by individual business interests, all right? Then, in Cross River State, you have a holistic product that is of interest to a broad spectrum of people. And I believe that if there's going to be a task force, we must identify the unique selling points of each of these destinations and try to aggregate the benefits and put out a product, either a unified product or individual marketing strategies will ensure that each of these markets benefit from tourist arrivals.
Well, I believe that I want to say we owe you, or you owe us, but somewhere there is an opening of a full, robust conversation around what needs to be done to develop our tourism sector, because clearly we're still punching below our weight with regards to what is happening in our tourism sector. But pending when that happens, from Calabar. Chief Adam Duke, we look forward to engaging with you once again.
Thank you. And I want to say that for this particular sector, where the low entry barrier is low, where the benefits cut across all manner of interest and professional lines, if we focus attention and avoid shadow boxing, we can mine the culture and tourism sector in such a way. It is one of the top three, contributors to GDP in any part of the world. And Nigerians are the ones who enrich other countries by the power of our spending and the adventurism of our people. Therefore, we must aggregate that into this country in order to give us a better appreciation and benefit from culture and tourism as an economic sector.
Thank you once more. Well, let's turn our attention right now to, well, it's still very closely related, because when you look at it, on the face of it, I mean, how do you go exploring when you are not sure of whether, you can easily go by road, when you don't feel safe, when you hear that children are being kidnapped? It all ties in. So let me come to you. You have mentioned quite a number. I like the fact that this is some of the decisions that the president has now reached from his meeting with his security chiefs, withdrawing VIPs. It's not the first time we have heard it. As I did say, our colleagues at the Punch newspaper, they're estimating that this should give us another additional 1,000. What are your expectations from some of these decisions that were reached yesterday in the security meeting that the president had with his chief?
Well, the decisions are very inspiring, and I hope that they will be put into action. There is a difference between official pronouncement and reality. So the reality is what we have to see, and we have to see it in better security, better protection of lives, and a situation whereby the security agencies are more effective and they can do their work. But I always have to go back, because these security men are not magicians. And I always remember one experience I had in the bush in Zamfara State in 2018.
You were kidnapped?
No, I was not kidnapped. I was not kidnapped. I saw soldiers trying to, on their way to go and intervene on a security alert. Unfortunately, because there is no road, they could not reach there on time. They were stuck in the sand, and they could not move back, they could not move forward. Are they expected to build the road themselves? No. Politicians are the ones that will build the road. So if you have military men with all the equipment, and there is a security situation, and to even reach that place is impossible, what do? The terrorists and the killers will continue to win. So we have to continue to have these two conversations. This government has done something which is very good. this pushing of making sure that local governments get their funds, I hope it will come to reality. And it's one of the ways through which we can begin to address, because we have to look at things from both sides. While giving the military all the support, all the resources they need and the encouragement, we also have to make sure that people are living with dignity. People have roads, people have water. You remember in December 2023 when there was an airstrike in a village that was close to Kaduna Airport. And it was only after that airstrike that people realized that there is no road to that place. No road, no school. In fact, a school in that village was only commissioned last week. So these are the issues. Corruption is killing us and is the reason why we are unsafe. And we have to address it holistically, because if we continue in this way, it is going to be bad. But we still have the opportunity to change the situation.
Well, I have to thank you very much for coming on the program this morning. Mr. Issa Sanusi is the country director of Amnesty International, speaking with us here in Abuja studios. I also know that we're going to be taking the closing comments of Mr. Sheyi Adetayo with my colleague Ayo.
Thank you, Marco. My question would probably, also taper into what we heard Mr. Duke say earlier about the impact of insecurity on tourism in Nigeria. Yankari Games Reserve, for instance, is gone totally. And we have recorded, within 2010 and 2014 alone, we recorded something in the region between 5 and 7 billion naira lost to insecurity. And that's just one sector of several businesses that are being closed and all of that. If we are not going to be papering over cracks, what must be done and by who within the shortest possible time?
I think it has to first start with our people, with the people. 9 out of every 10 news you see on the social media are just fabrications. So we have this penchant for throwing out fake news. I was saying for every situation, every news, you see people creating AI videos and the rest trying to. So that, hands up the marketing, Nigeria and our tourism sector. That is one. Number two, government needs to do more to, encourage and be able to sell our tourism sector, and to also give that comfort and assurance to people that they can come. Already, I know I visited some hotels in Lagos and I saw that they are fully booked. And I can imagine as at now, everywhere is fully booked. Now, for you to get, rooms in major hotels in Lagos now in December, I'm not sure you'll be able to get. And that's to show that, a lot. I was in Atlanta this year, early this year, and I took three like Uber Lyft, and driven by female, and they were all talking to me about dirty December in Lagos. That they want to come with their Nigerian friends to Lagos.
The challenge will remain for as long as people continue to have these fears of being attacked and all of those things. And even some of our movies are also, perhaps there is really a need for us to have a conversation.
The movie The Head, I also have a challenge, with that movie.
There is a need for us to sit down and have an understanding about messaging. In defense of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Dr. Sheyi Adetayo is the CEO of Eon's Intelligence. We appreciate your time and thoughts this morning. And that's the show today. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your Monday morning. Enjoy the rest of your day and your week. I'm Ayo Makinde.
And I'm Mao.